From hosting doctors who said that the pandemic was planned, to interview Elon Musk while he smokes a blunt, Joe Rogan is no stranger to hosting controversial guests on his show, but he draws the line at Putin for some reason.
That doesn't control information and control what news gets distributed to your people, that doesn't have a lockdown on the internet and is in complete control of all the oligarchs in your country.
Here's why. See, on March 14th, Joe sat down with comedian Bert Kreischer for one of his episodes. The two jumped from one topic to another as they do, and somewhere along the way, the conversation shifted to the ongoing talks between the US and Russia. Rogan was going over an article detailing the exchange of ex-Marine Paul Whelan, who had been held prisoner in Russia since 2018. When Bert popped the question, he asked Rogan if he would be open to hosting Putin on his show. Joe replied with a short no, but his co-host was on a different frequency. Apparently, Bert was thrilled by the idea, which kinda shocked Joe, and so he asked Bert why he would want that. The comedian brought up the story of Robert Kraft, the New England Patriots owner, who once had his ring stolen by the president. Yes, Putin stole Kraft's ring. It happened back in 2015 when the two met in St. Petersburg. Putin apparently asked to try on Kraft's ring, but instead of returning it later, he decided to keep it, and that too without even asking. Talk about balls. Guess that comes with being the president or a dictator. Anyway, Bert was pretty fascinated by the story, particularly by the possibility of turning Putin into a cooler dude simply by hanging out with him. But Rogan wasn't all too impressed. He can't be like, hey bro, let's forget about all those people that you killed that were your political opponents. We're cool now. No, that's out of the question for him. What's shocking is that when Bert pressed the issue, Joe even responded with, "Are you out of your effing mind?" Looks like he's really not in the mood to host the Russian president on his show. Explains why he went on a rant about the oligarchy system in Russia and how he said, "You're obviously evil," while talking about Putin. Kreischer joked that Rogan was never going to get an invite talking like this, and Rogan seemed perfectly fine by that. But Joe is not completely aboard the Putin hate train. He did have some nice things to say about him, specifically his judo skills. Rogan praised Putin for his solid and legit judo. What's even more interesting is that Putin is not the only evil dictator that the two discussed during the podcast. After the pair were done tearing into Putin, they moved on to Kim Jong-un. Apparently, Kreischer wants to meet him.
I still want to meet Kim Jong-un.
Whoa.
Yeah. Shit like that interests me.
What interests me is Trump meeting him. That was interesting.
Met Kim Jong-un?
After he called him Little Rocket Man, he goes to meet him.
Rogan was once more shocked by his co-host's statement. Turns out, Bert just takes a keen interest in things like that. As for Rogan, he didn't reveal whether he would be cool with hosting the North Korean dictator on his show, but he would love to see someone go toe-to-toe with Kim. What's more, he was fascinated by Trump meeting him. The two met after Donald called him Kim Little Rocket Man, and surprisingly, no nuclear weapons were drawn during the meetup. Instead, the two shook hands and were smiling, which was an awful game to Rogan. Joe then went on to discuss Kim's many atrocities in North Korea, all under the guise of creating a more equitable society. As far as his own president and country is concerned, Joe thinks that the way this country is run is superior to any other system out there, and it's all because of the checks and balances that were first put in place by the founding fathers. But if I was Joe Rogan, I wouldn't jump on my high horse just yet. The American commentator might not be hosting Putin on his show, but he has hosted some controversial personalities in the past. Remember the time when he had Candace Owens on his show? What a ride that was. Candace Owens is a polarizing figure, to put it mildly. She joined Rogan for a chat back in 2018, and it kind of turned into this heated climate change debate.
We're almost losing America, and there's a battle for America.
I really feel that, like, just in every regard, in terms of just think about who we were in bed with, like Saudi Arabia, selling all of our uranium to Russia.
Apparently, the author said that climate change isn't as big of an issue as people make it out to be. Instead, Candace thinks it's a way to extract dollars from Americans. Of course, Rogan pushed back, and the moment caused quite a stir online. Still, it was nothing like the time he had a certain clinical psychiatrist on board. I'm talking about Jordan Peterson, of course. Rogan sat down for a chat with the professor back back in 2018. Peterson used the opportunity to voice his concerns about political correctness. He refused to acknowledge the pronouns of his colleagues and students. He also objected to Bill C-16 in Canada concerning gender identity laws in the country. None of it beats his opinions about solar energy, though. Turns out the man with a PhD thinks that more people die from solar energy than they die from nuclear power. Yeah, I'm just going to let you sit with that for a moment. By offering Peterson a platform to voice his opinions, Rogan essentially put him on the map. So, not one of his best moments. Kinda like when he had Elon Musk on his show. I mean, the billionaire was smoking a blunt during the show.
There's tobacco and marijuana in there. That's all it is.
Not something you'd put on a list of top 10 Joe Rogan experience moments. Musk's episode back in 2018 garnered over 59 million views, which makes sense since the Tesla owner hardly makes appearances on podcasts. Interestingly, the episode got bad press for both Musk and Rogan. Musk had to deal with the fact that Tesla's stock price dropped, and Rogan, well, he was just giving a platform to problematic personalities, which doesn't exactly put you in the best light in front of people. Still, I think Musk's appearance was tamer compared to that time when Rogan had Alex Jones and Eddie Bravo on his show, both at the same time. This was back in 2020. Both of these folks are polarizing figures. Alex is a host for the popular website InfoWars. He's amassed a considerable following thanks to his wild conspiracy theories, and he's made his way on the Joe Rogan podcast a couple of times, with the conversation getting so out of hand at times that Spotify even took down some of the episodes featuring him. Gotta hand it to Rogan for taking the heat. He knows a thing or two about navigating waters like these. Still, I'm guessing he must have faltered when he spread that misinformation about the pandemic. For starters, Rogan thought that healthy people shouldn't get vaccinated for COVID-19. And then he made it worse by inviting Dr. Peter McCullough and Robert Malone on his show. One is a well-published cardiologist, and the latter helped develop mRNA technology. But don't let those degrees fool you. When Peter got the chance to speak on Joe's show, he said that the pandemic was planned. He also said that treatments were systematically withheld to stoke enthusiasm for vaccination. Oh, and as far as Malone is concerned, he called Peter Duesberg, a previous guest on the show, one of the best virologists out there. Just to fill you in, Peter claimed that HIV doesn't cause AIDS. What was Rogan doing spreading misinformation like this during a time when he should have been doing the exact opposite? Who knows? But one thing is clear. Scientists with weird opinions, professors who think solar energy kills, and billionaires who smoke are good to go on the Joe Rogan experience. But evil dictators is where Joe draws the line. Can't judge a man's moral compass, now can you? And that's everything I had to say about Joe Rogan refusing to do a podcast with Putin.